I'm literally going to say word for word.
Oh, can't believe you made me sit in the rain do this.
I mean, I suppose you should get used to it, really, given what you want to do, Jack.
Yes.
Right, okay, so Jack Fleckney, born in 1991, making you 29. You seem to have managed to get quite a lot in during that time.
Yes. What we just said, but when I look back and look at those things, I don't think I often have. I think I haven't done enough, which is probably maybe a motivating factor for me moving forward.
Right, okay. So, I mean, obviously, for people that don't know, I mean, started off, lived in Northamptonshire, played amateur rugby, and then got picked up at 15, 16?
I would have been 15, yes.
Right, okay. Who picked you up?
London Wasps.
Right, okay.
It was actually, the story behind it is quite interesting. I used to get the Rugby World magazine. I'd just been rejected by the Saints in terms of signing a contract for them.
Right.
I had the Rugby World magazine and I saw they were basically accepting applicants to try and go through trials. So I wrote a letter myself and sent it down and they rang and invited me to a trial. There was like 60 of us there, right. And they picked 3 of us in the end to join the academy. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, moving down to London.
Yes, that was
At 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do they provide sort of accommodation or?
That summer I joined the pre-season. I travelled down every day on the train.
Right.
So I'd either get dropped off by parents or cycle to the train station, go down to London. That was a wicked experience for me. I absolutely loved it. Felt really grown up. Jumping on the train and going on the tube for the first time. That was an experience. And then I'd do that every day, Monday to Friday. And then when the season started in September, then I actually moved down there and they organised what you probably call like an orphan family kind of thing. They just, a family, really lovely house in London, they took me in, so I had a bedroom there and they'd have some dinner for me. Okay. And then that was it really, so I'd just go there and wake up, go train, go school, come back and live with them.
Right, okay. And that academy lasted for 2 years?
Yes, that was just over 2 years, 2 and a bit years. So when the season ended, then I got to the end. The contract, my theoretical contract, come to an end, and they said, "Oh, look, you're going to be a fringe player," which basically means I'll dabble in and out of either Championship Club Rugby, what's called A League, which is like second team professional.
Okay.
Spoke to me about going on loan to some certain clubs and things, but by that point. Not that I wasn't interested in it, but I sort of was already being pulled and swayed towards either further rugby, but going through university, or going into the military. So they basically said you're not a high enough grade. They said I wasn't good enough. Yeah.
Right. And how did that feel? Did that bother you, or how did that feel?
Yeah, it bothered me because I thought you sort of know it's coming in those scenarios. You know it's coming just based on the relationship that you have with those coaches over that time. I suppose the difference was, I think, what I found really hard was I probably wanted it the most out of most of those guys going through the same situation, but I just didn't have maybe the natural skill set. I'd say it's natural skill set in the sense my nickname at Wasps was Keno, because I'd be out in this weather, late at night practicing passing against posts on my own, and because that's what I was working towards, was I wanted to become a rugby player.
So you were certainly dedicated.
Yes, yeah. I wouldn't class it as dedication because it didn't feel like that then. That's what's made it so easy for me doing lots of these things.
Okay.
It didn't feel dedicated because I actually really enjoyed it. I would enjoy going out, the idea of that task of completing that, and that made it so much easier for me to do. Yeah.
Okay. So and obviously I know a little bit about that part of your life, and I understand there was an issue with weight as well. Your size, your physical size as well.
Yes.
Wasn't, and it's hard to believe, and I know some people will struggle with this.
It was all in my ears still, that was the problem. It hadn't dropped.
But you weren't heavy enough to be part of the pack.
When I first joined, they were like, you're too small, you're too skinny, you need to start doing, you need to get bigger, to get stronger, which you look at the evolution of rugby now, it is size and power and strength, and the physical battles in rugby are how teams are winning now. Look at England. Physical power. So they knew that back then, and that was the process they were putting through most of us, but I was very, very light. I think I joined the squad, I remember being 66, 67 kilos. Wow. And then I think I left 2 years later, sat at 85, nearly 90.
Right.
And that was just through drinking a lot of milk,
Right.
eating a lot,
Okay.
and they obviously put me on protein shakes and things, which actually I don't do anymore, but obviously that was a big calorie option for me to bring calories on.
Yeah.
And the second part to it was all the gym work.
Right.
So we were in the gym most days, and it's the first time I've been in a professional environment doing lifting weights. Before that, I'd been training parks, so it's
Yeah.
all body weight stuff.
Right. Okay. So from that, and I'm not going to class it as a failure, but we'll come back to that. So you were being drawn away. You realised that probably this wasn't going to be where you wanted to be anyway. It wasn't going to deliver what you wanted to deliver, regardless of how keen you were on that aspect. And you were being pulled towards the military.
Yeah.
But not just the normal military. You wanted something again to be a little bit more than standard.
Yes, I think that was all through book reading. I was actually interested in the paras to begin with. I don't think I told you that, but I was interested in joining the Pathfinders and the paras.
Right. Okay.
And I'd read loads of books. I read books on, loads of different military stories, starting off from Andy McNabb,
Yeah.
and then moving into more of the actual fictional, non-fictional, stories. And that it pulled my interest. So I actually went to that afternoon. I had the meeting in the morning or the afternoon to say, you're not going to get re-signed. I sort of knew it was going to happen anyway, but that was like the stamp for me to go, right, let's have a look at elsewhere then.
Yeah.
So during that process, I was already looking at uni, but that afternoon, I went to central London, Trafalgar Square, literally as a careers office just around the corner for the army, walked in, was going, I'm interested in joining the para as an officer, I'm really interested in doing these things. They literally passed me a number, which I rang, got through to some receptionist, which was no help whatsoever, and I sort of left quite demoralising. But on the walk back, I walked past the Naval Careers Office and thought, I was looking into the Marines as well, so popped my head in, and then next minute I was getting sat down, had a chat with I think it was a Royal Marine at the time, and got some more information about the Marines, left, read up on it, realised it was the longest military training in the world, arguably the toughest, and then then the ball started to roll with that.
You're up for getting cold?
It's getting tough, mate. Yeah, go on, we'll crack on, we'll keep going.
So you're being attracted to something that's out there again. So you've been attracted away from the paras to a more tougher regime, which is the Royal Marines, and becoming a bootneck. I mean, the only thing I can say is that if you just walked a little bit further down the road,
I know what you're going to say.
What,
the RAF?
Well, yeah, indeed. But but hey, you stopped.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't intelligent enough to do your path, I don't think.
So, but this interview's about you, not about me. But you chose to join the Marines not as an officer.
I did actually choose to do it as an officer first.
Right. Okay.
I had really bad acne.
Okay.
So I used to have to take. You'll be able to tell me Roaccutane.
Yep. Indeed,
yeah. So I used to have to go for blood tests. So literally, I went to join as an officer. I went through the application and passed, and then I had to do something called your POC, which is the final thing, potential officers course.
Yes.
I think it's 5 or 6 days. Before I went, I had the medical, and it pointed out my bad acne, and it was very bad. Like my face was covered in acne, and they said you won't be able to go for your POC until you're acne sorted due to, I'm guessing, infection and things.
Yes.
Yeah. So I then went on to Roaccutane. During that time, I was just training. I got a job. I was building like high wire courses and managing them as well. And I was like 17. So went through that process. How long are you on it? For about 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was the maximum you could be on it, and it did clear it up.
Yeah.
Cleared up my acne, and then went to rejoin. And then they said you'll miss the date.
Yeah.
And I was going to have to wait 1.5 years, I think it was,
Right.
till the next possible, because the Royal Marine officer batch is only once a year.
Okay.
So I'd missed the intake for the next one. They'd already had their group picked.
Yeah.
And then it meant getting ready for the following one in September.
Right.
And maybe the impatient person in me, and then also from speaking to people, they sort of advised, and the careers office did, they said, well, why don't you go in as a Marine, feel it, understand it, do the job, which actually, doing it now would have made me a better officer if I then did go through Corps Commission.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Okay. So, so Royal Marines, all arms course.
Yeah. So that's the all arms course is what the I don't know if the RAF can do. I don't think anyone's ever passed it.
No, they can. Actually.
Has anyone passed it before in the RAF?
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have. So it's 32 weeks long.
Yep.
Training's really enjoyable. Like I look back on it and I think, I was very young. I was 17, 18 going through that. So it was relatively, I wasn't mature in mindset, but it was an incredible experience, learned a lot. and I did really enjoy training.
Yeah. So when you say you learned a lot, what sort of things? I mean, for the people that don't know, just sort of skim over what actually happens in that training period.
Yeah.
Because I think what a lot of people imagine it's a lot of running and stuff like that, but there is a huge amount of psychological robustness that you are that's created within you through that time, and I think that's really important to talk about. So just talk to people what actually happens during that time.
Well, you start off and you get put into block for 2 weeks where you're pretty much all in the block. It's 50, 60 of you that start training, all living there, and it's basically kit muster, which is preparing your kit, ironing all your bed sheets every morning, having it all perfect for inspection, doing your mundane tasks like basically just learning how to function in the military with your administration. So lots to do with shaving, haircuts, kit, moving around camp, collecting everything you needed, doing your first little exercise out on field. So that's the first portion of it, and then you move into, once you've passed that, you move into more military orientated and fitness stuff. So like you said, lots of running, lots of gym work, rope climbs, press ups, very high stress environment because it's all on very strict timings. You know, I remember having to run to go for lunch because they give you 15 minutes. You have to sprint down to get lunch, sprint back again, but then be in certain uniform ready to go. And then you learn about weapons. You then go on more exercises. About week 10, you go on quite a long one where it's lots of what you call yomping, which you call tabbing maybe, which is carrying heavy weight on your back.
We call it getting in the car and naming the chapter.
I was going to say you call going to the hotel, the 5-star hotel. But yeah, so all of those things, and then once you pass week 15, that's like your standard military training. So in essence, you are a soldier, and then you go for your commando phase, which is more your specialist skills. More exercises, more map reading, all those military orientated skills. So although you think lots of running, actually most of the physically challenging scenarios are in this, where it's cold, it's wet, you're out, you're camping, what you call camping, but you're up in bivvy setup, you're doing operational posts, you're doing like overwatch, you're doing stalks, you're doing recce's, patrols. So you learn all those higher level skills that traditionally you'd learn once you join your unit, you do through training. Then it sort of cultivates with your final exercise across Dartmoor, which is I can't remember, I think it's a week or 10 days across Dartmoor, doing loads of different bits, mainly carrying heavy weight, but also being able to function in a stressful environment with high skills, so better military skills, different scenarios. And then you do your 4 commando tests. The commando tests start off with the endurance course, which is 2 miles through, like you've seen the advert, through those water tubes. I don't know if you make it.
Yeah, the ultimate tough mudder.
Yeah, the ultimate tough mudder. You finish off with like a 4-mile run back down to camp. I remember doing it, and I remember the corporal was in, I think he was in his vehicle, and he jumped out, was running with me, and we were like, there's a famous sign, I think it says 400 metres to go, Royal, or something, and that's the sign. And he was like, you've got 1 minute. And I was in my head, I was like, I'm not, I can't make it, I'm not doing it. And I got down thinking I'd failed. I got there and they're like, yeah, well done, you passed. I was like, he just lied to me, like just to scare me. Think I'd give up. That's what it was. You have to shoot, that's the first test. Then you have a day off, then you go into your, I want to say Tarzan assault course, which is a high wires assault course. So I was quite lucky because with working in high wires, I could just run across them and do all the balancing and the coordination bits. So I was quite lucky because you set off in 5-minute intervals, and I caught up the person I was stuck behind them over the high wires course. It was purely just because of skill, like I could run along the tight wires real quick and do those skills. Then down to the assault course, you run across the assault course, do the assault course, the bottom field one. And then once you've done that, you do a 9-mile speed march, which is with a bit of weight, not a huge amount, with a weapon, speed walking up hills, jogging flats, running down hills basically. You have to do it at a certain time as a group. You all have to stay in step, which actually makes it difficult. And then the final one is a 30-miler. So that's 30 miles across Dartmoor as a group, in your team, carrying, well, I think I was carrying maybe, I want to say about, it's all done in pounds, about 50 pounds a weight with your weapon. Have to do it in under 8 hours. Right. And that's when you finish that, you cross over a bridge, and if you've done your commando test till that point, you get given your green beret there and then. Okay. Yeah.
And how did that feel?
Yeah, it felt really good. I know it's completely underplays it, but yeah, it was a pretty amazing feeling, because for those last 9 months, it's all you thought about. I remember going for my potential Royal Marines course, and the guy was sat in front with his beret on, and all I thought was, I want that beret. That's literally, I want that green beret. That's what I wanted. So, and my whole world had been focused in on that.
Yeah.
And I think actually I was more excited for what was to come next as well.
So that's an interesting point. So you've achieved something that most people will never achieve in life, which is completing a Royal Marines course. I would imagine the vast majority of the people that do actually go to join the Royal Marines won't complete that course.
Yeah, we had 60, and I think we finished off with under 20 of those that passed. Yeah.
So you've done that, you've got your green beret, but still you're already looking for the next challenge.
Yeah, luckily in the Marines, when you first join, you've got that next challenge, which is your integration into your commando unit, which is a big step, because you're brand new, they're all often been in a long time.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing, and I was very lucky that when I first joined, we got pretty much sent out straight away. It's out on ship when the whole Gaddafi, Libya, Africa situation was happening. So I literally deployed out very, very quickly. I think weeks it was.
Right.
We went out for maybe 5 months away doing bits. So
and what would you do? So that was to protect the ship whilst it was on exercise.
No. So it was supposed to be a routine exercise, I believe. But by the time I'd joined the unit, it was then turned into an operation because of everything that was happening in Africa. So the job it wasn't protection of the ship actually. It was more so we were getting ready to deploy into places like Africa if needed. Yeah. So we literally sat off the coast waiting basically, and whilst we were waiting, I didn't really know geography that well. We were in the Mediterranean, obviously very near where Libya and Africa and all those things were happening, very active, and we had things like Cyprus not that far away. So we were doing lots of practice things in Cyprus. Even got to the point we got red lighted. So I remember I was in the gym. You got to think I was young. I was 18 with all these lads that had been in a long time, been on operations. So you look up to them, and we were lifting and stuff. And next minute the red lights came on, and like an alarm system, and they called us all back to our accommodation areas. And I remember one of the lads just going, "Yes, we're going to war." And I remember thinking, "Oh my, here we go!" Like, oh my God, this is it. And this is it. Like you see in the films.
Yeah.
But yeah, we literally got briefed. We got the initial brief, got put on standby, got our phones taken off us. So we couldn't tell anyone what we were doing, and then they canned it.
Right.
But so that was so we went through that. Then after that, then it did become an exercise once, because I think then it did all very calm down.
Yeah.
And then we ended up going and doing some very exciting things like, I visited so many countries, I could reel them off. Albania, went through the Suez Canal, Oman, Djibouti, coast of Somalia with piracy bits. Went back to Rock and Gibraltar, through Greece, Rhodes, and Italy, went to Rome as well. So it ended up becoming like an incredible trip, for a youngster, for life experience, and literally just getting dropped off and they go, you got 5 days here, and it was amazing. Went out and did all sorts. Spent all my money, which I was getting paid, so when I come home I was supposed to buy a car, and I remember my parents were fuming because I literally spent every penny just because I'd been, I'm going to do that, let's do it. So that was the youngster in me.
Any issues in Africa with any sort of animals that when you were maybe working and stopping people coming back onto ship?
Oh yeah, I wonder what you're teeing me up for then.
We'll talk about those other animals.
We were put on. There's a few of us on watch, and we got called out because the gangway. There's a small gangway. Literally, you could hardly walk up. It's that small. And some lads have been out drinking, and they bought a camel. And they were trying to bring the camel up the thing. I knew them, and my nickname back then was Fozzie, but they were like, "Oh, Fozzie, come on, let us bring the camel on." And one of them was going, "It can have my bed. It can have my bed. This huge camel." So they had to end up going. They obviously couldn't get it up, so they ended up having to take it back. But yeah, we did nearly end up with an issue because they were literally trying to drag it up the gangway. Poor thing.
Brilliant. So you finished that exercise, returned back to the UK, and presumably then. The next big thing that happened was Herrick.
Yes, there was other things in between that we did, whether it be exercises and different places I went to, like America and things, which is all preparation for Herrick, because they've got basically, you might know of it, but they've got a training area pretty much the size of Wales.
Yeah.
That is climate
Yeah.
is very similar to Afghan, and they pretty much built Afghan villages on it, so you could operate on it and do practice.
And that would be for house clearances or building clearances?
Building clearances and literally everything. Like, we travelled across the ground miles, we did like shooting ranges there, we did building clearances, calling airstrikes, everything you could think of. It's a fantastic.
Yeah.
So yes, we did loads of bits there.
So fantastic experience, but obviously preparing for a very real scenario.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think people can really understand what a building clearance means, you know, and the intensity and the threat of what happens when you're going into that situation. Just talk me through that sort of operation.
Yeah, so with training for those things, basically building clearances, you get given a scenario which you've got to clear through this building, and you don't realistically, often most of the time, you won't know any intel on it, or you wouldn't know what you're clearing through. All you might know is that there might be some enemy in there, or what you call packs or people in there that are unknown. So when you clear through the building, you have to clear all angles of all rooms, cover everything as you move through it. So it's very, very high risk, and you've probably seen like documentaries and videos, especially it's what you look at the SAS, they specialise in. Their drills and skills are incredible going through those buildings. So yeah, so it's all those you know, we could go well in depth into how you do it and what they do, but yeah, that's the role with building clearances. In terms of stress levels, I never had the opportunity on deployment to do it in those kind of things in a high stress environment where it's high risk, because it was all low risk. So so I couldn't probably comment on how stressful it is because when through training you can never emulate the stress of it. Even when going through all those training exercises you said about, I didn't. I'm sure others probably did, but from what I took from a lot of us, we literally looked at it as exercise.
Yeah.
As this is an exercise, this is practice.
And it actually is fun.
Oh yes,
That's
yeah. Looking back on it, a lot of the situations were like incredible. I always say about the Marines, it was like the 2% of like awesome, and then 98% of the other stuff you don't see, which is the boredom part of it, or the administrational bit, the stuff that didn't interest me, or the 2% why, which I loved, was doing those kind of things and doing the physical things that were in part with it. So I look back now and I think I probably should appreciate it more actually. So you don't know. I remember just going when we were deploying away, because I didn't really have an idea on actually what was coming up. As in, you don't know until you get there what's coming up. So I remember getting on the plane thinking, you know what, I haven't even contemplated this in my head. Imagine when we
fear it? Which
what's the word? I don't know if fear's the word. I remember thinking, geez, this could be the last time. I'll tell you what the fear bit was, which is weird, was the day before we went off, we had to go away, we had to pack all our rooms up into a box, and it was in case we died. So it had all our, and I remember literally packing all the bit, and then we would have to sleep on an empty bed. So I remember a few of us went and got a hotel down the road. So we're like, not going to have this in case, like, you know, because from what we've been told, it was going to be extremely dangerous out there and very high risk. Even we got to Afghan, we were being drilled those things.
So which Herrick were you on?
17.
17. So it was
later.
So it was later.
Very later Herrick. Yeah.
So the intensity was a high tempo and a significant. A lot of servicemen and servicewomen had been mortally injured.
Yes, by that point when we got out there, they had, I suppose the whole situation had changed, because the infrastructure by that point was very much built. Like Bastion was the size of Reading. I have friends that I speak to that went out at very first Herrick, and it was like they literally flew out and it's just a desert, and they're like, well, where are we going? And they just got told to go somewhere and start doing bits. And then also the locals, they knew the game. So if I'm honest, the Afghan tour felt very much like, and again, this is probably my immaturity of the whole situation, it was like rattling a cage, like, you know, rattling a cage. You let the dog out, but then they can't go and actually, or you never let the dog out. In fact, that's probably the best way of putting it. I remember being briefed. They're like, it's so dangerous where we go in. There's, you know, there's IDs everywhere. They're letting everything off. And then we got out there, and it was actually a very different situation, and our role was very different from what we'd initially been briefed. So, yeah, it was a whole different situation to me. When we got out there, it was very calm. It was very calm. We were very lucky. Obviously, there's some areas that weren't, but where we got put to, very calm. And then my role ended up becoming more of a security role for us, OC and CO, and then moving into doing training for Afghan police.
Right. Okay. So did that feel a bit of a disappointment?
Yeah, but not now. It was then because it's like, and it sounds really silly and it sounds pretty immature to say, but you want those stories, as in like you want to do those things because you've been training for them, and because it was very much like it made you one step ahead of other Marines that hadn't done those things.
Yeah.
And also I had a lot of respect for guys that had been out on Herrick before, done island tours, or even before that, you know, some of the you go back to Desert Storm and things, and you idolise those people. You idolise people that have been to the Falklands and things.
Yeah.
So it was very much like, yeah, you wanted to feel that and be part of it. But now I look at it and think, well, actually, I was very lucky to not have to be part of some of those really dangerous situations, because. Because you know the lives lost was, and the situations that they got put in were such very high stress.
So, just a one tour of Herrick.
Yep.
And then but a feeling again of not really achieving what you set out to achieve.
Yeah, I came back from that tour maybe a bit disillusioned, as in like to the Marines and maybe some of the people I worked with, and maybe the situation I put myself in that I didn't enjoy. So I remember coming back from that not that happy and fulfilled. So I instantly started looking elsewhere. Yeah.
Okay. So looking elsewhere for what was the next chapter?
Well, I was playing rugby for the Navy at the time, so I'd been picked to do that, and I was very lucky to have that opportunity to represent the Navy in those games, and you probably see them on TV, the Army Navy matches, and have them. So
I'm sure the RAF there as well.
No, you play them like a week before in some horrendous in a horrendous pitch. Although they've got pretty good now, because when I used to play them, they weren't very good. No. Whereas now they're very good. They often win the Tri Nations. Yeah. So, or the Tri Nations, the Tri Cup, whatever they call it. But got to do that. That was a big pull for me, because it was like, I love that. I love the environment, and actually I love the people I was with there. Yeah. Like there was some fantastic guys and leaders and people that I was being around that I just thrived in that environment. Okay. And I enjoyed the fact that we were all working towards one goal, which was to obviously try and beat the Army, which is a big goal. Yeah. We know, you look at the odds, we were always the underdogs in every situation. So we had that going on, but then I was also getting into fitness. I'd already been into fitness, but I was getting into it more.
In fact, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because, you know, obviously you're a Royal Marine, and everyone imagines a Royal Marine to be super fit. But you're talking about a different type of fitness here, aren't you?
Well, I think so, yeah. This was, I think I was working with some Navy SEALs and they were doing it. That was my introduction to it, trying it there, which obviously trying CrossFit. And I was like, it's a bit humbling. I was like, Jesus, like they're, you know, picking up a 40 kilo bar. I was like, this feels heavy, and I couldn't squat with it properly and do thrusters. So then I thought the competitiveness in me was like, I want to get pretty good at this. Yeah. And it was at this time where CrossFit hadn't boomed yet. Right. There was like, you had Rich thrown in and doing it, and I was doing it with, I started watching his videos, basically, watching all what he was doing, trying to copy, emulate, training, and I got really keen into it. It was really, really keen. Yeah. And I was training like three, sometimes 4 times a day. I had no idea what I was doing.
And what was the goal? What was the, so you started off, you wanted to be a professional rugby player. That didn't work out. Not a failure, but because you were given options, but not to the standard that you wanted to. Yeah. Then we're in the Marines now, and you've become a little bit disillusioned with that, because again you've trained really hard, and it's not what you wanted to achieve at the end of it. And now we're moving into CrossFit, and you've got this hunger and this desire to do what with it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I first started doing it, I just really enjoyed it. Okay. There was no goal towards it. I was like, this is pretty cool. And I was I think the timing of that was perfect, because when I started doing that, the UK scene was relatively quiet. So I started doing that, and I was, competing, and quite quickly at a very high level within the UK. So no, I didn't do it. And literally I was training because I did just love it. I loved the idea that I could see myself improving, like numbers improving, WOD times improving. I was learning movements like a handstand push-up, which I was like, what the hell is that? And I'd watch videos on it and go and practice it and do all those things. So it was.
You loved the achievement side of it.
Yeah, I love that. I love the chasing each bit, like trying to get better. But the biggest part of it, and I say this to a lot of people trying to achieve a goal, I just enjoyed the process of it. Okay. Like I enjoyed going to the gym to train. I enjoyed like learning about a new movement and trying to do those things.
Yeah.
And then I just got better at it in terms of I just got better at competing with it, started to do well with it, and then but the Marines were still the job, as in like I was just doing that on the side.
Yeah.
So when I went away somewhere, I'd have to just cut training. I'd hardly train. I'd just train whenever I could, or just be doing burpees or body weight stuff when I was there. But it did take over like my passion, as in like it definitely did. I felt there was a transition there. When I went through that transition, I was starting to coach and help someone, which then fueled that. I was like, you know what, I really enjoy coaching. I saw buzz from helping Adam, his name is, and actually, funnily enough, he now owns a gym.
Right.
And he's a great athlete as well, beast in himself. But yeah, it gave me a buzz. Then that made me think maybe I want to open my own gym.
Right. Okay. So the Marines didn't want you to leave. They were quite passionate to hold on to you, but you decided actually it was time to move on, and you were gonna come out. You'd done your allotted time, and it was time to leave and move on. And you thought, actually, I want to open my own gym.
Yes.
Which brings us on to, and eventually to Shy of It.
Yeah.
But not at the start.
No. We had some hiccups along the way. Jesus, we had loads of hiccups. Yeah, that was a really interesting period of time because you hand your notice in. I don't know if it was similar, but like I had my notice in, I had to work a year's notice.
Yeah.
And during that year, it was planning. So I got sent out to America. I did a month or two out there, I think it was. Come back. Started planning ideas, building, what I wanted the gym to look like, the branding of it. I had no idea, I literally was just guessing. Well, I need to make a name. I didn't know about a lot of the stuff, and in fact, I hadn't done a lot of it when I've opened it. But then I went and played in the final Army Navy matches. Then I was literally nearly ready to leave, and I had a building ready which I'd sourced in Kettering, and it was pretty much I was literally waiting for the paperwork to sign the lease and done. So when I left, it wasn't a joke. I was literally on the way home, and I had a phone call. In fact, I pulled up in the street at home, and the phone was ringing, so I answered it, and it was the estate agent, the commercial estate agent, basically said they've dropped out the deal now. They've decided they don't want a gym there, and I'd already started the change of use process, which, if any of you know it, is the most long, boring process in the world. But went through that, and I was literally thinking, wicked, in maybe 4 weeks I think I can open the gym and have the kit in there done, to suddenly go in, we start again. So I started looking at units straight away, and it was just so hard because everyone wants to open a gym, and it's really easy to open a gym. The entry level's easy because you don't need much money. And what happens is a lot of people open gyms, they don't do very well because they don't know what they're doing. So they looked at me and they were like, well, you know what you're doing. And it was true, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, well, you're right. So yeah, and I just kept getting rejected. So I needed to earn some money, so I signed up to one of those agencies, and I got a job in a warehouse, which was a shock to the system because I hadn't been in that working environment before. Before the Marines, I'd worked at Waitrose, and then before that I had a paper round.
Right.
It was a good paper round, but
it's clearly a hard paper round.
It was very tough. It was very, very tough. Maybe that's why we brushed over that part. And yeah, so I literally went from being in the Marines to leaving, and I remember I was counting socks, and I was literally counting socks out of a bag and checking them and counting them, and I was just sat there thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? Have I made a mistake here?
But again, it was ends to a means, means to an end. Sorry, to do something that was completely brain numbing, but was going to allow you to get to where you wanted to get to.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, no, exactly that. I still kept moving forward with it. I was still training. I even took my bar and put it in the back of the car, so at lunchtime I'd be training in the car park. But
any strange looks?
Oh my God, yes. Well, I can tell you many stories about training in gyms and getting strange looks, but not for the reason you're thinking. But yes.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah, that's true. And yeah. I eventually got to a point, basically after maybe 2 or 3 more hardships of losing buildings and things, it took about 6 months. I sourced a building in Wellingborough, which was good timing. There's a milk company in there, didn't really use it, they just stored milk in it, and then they were moving on. And actually I still buy milk for them to this day.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So, and that was the first Shy of It?
Yes, that was it. Well, it wasn't Shy of It then, it was CrossFit East Northants.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And and then obviously, everyone knows it's now a national brand. It is a national brand. You've taken it from strength to strength. There are multiple gyms now across across the country. So is it four?
There's 4 sites.
Four sites. And there is a real family gym membership.
Yep.
But now we're in the next chapter where why walk away from that? It seems to be a very successful business. People certainly respect you and look forward to your teaching in that environment. But you've decided again, and it appears to be a sort of almost a 5-year cycle of Jack's moving on, and that's where we are at that point now.
Yes, yeah, I think just before COVID, I had a really good opportunity to sit back and think what was happening. I was getting really stressed out because I was so emotionally invested in the gym. Everything was like, I was on everything. I knew everything that was happening. I knew every single little problem. I knew everything was going well. I wouldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't switch off. If one thing went bad, if one person said something negative, it wasn't that I was like biting back and saying no, because it was quite the opposite. They'd say it negative, I'd take it away and I'd think about it and think, can we change that? Can we make that better for that person? And I realized, I was just trying to please everybody, and it was slowly like killing my enthusiasm and passion for the role. Right. There was some learning structure in terms of the business growing quickly that you know me now relatively well. The administrational side of the business wasn't my strength. It was the direction of it. I could be there directing it, and I could be there, and I probably hadn't built enough administrational stuff to support the staff and things. Looking back on it, I'd definitely say those things are now in place, but they weren't so much. So it probably I was doing everything basically behind the scenes. And I stopped enjoying it for that reason. And I think I stopped enjoying it because I was trying to please everybody, and obviously I didn't even think about my own well-being, as in like I was working every hour of the day. I stopped enjoying training because I was working every hour of the day. I wasn't at home very much. I'd sacrifice a lot, and what a lot of people don't realise, and was actually I wasn't walking away with any other benefit financially from it, because although I was on minimum wage, I wasn't actually paying myself that for the majority of the time. So I think for out those 5 years, for about 4 of those years, I hadn't earned a penny. So there was no, I don't know, I think it was just lots of little things that started to come into play. Yeah. And then I just realised, well, I had a chance to sit back and go, well, what is it that motivates me? And it wasn't the running of a gym that motivated me. It was the opportunity to chase a challenge. It was to seek that challenge, to chase after it, fail it or do it. That stuff doesn't matter to me. It was the opportunity to push myself further and further. And I felt, this sounds really horrible to say it, and I do feel like a bit of a dick saying it. I felt myself becoming normal. Yeah. Right. So.
And that's certainly something that most people wouldn't associate you with.
Yes. Yeah. And I did. Like I was sat on my laptop every day. I was having meetings online. I was creating spreadsheets of different things, and I was like, I just sat there thinking, this just wasn't me. It isn't me. And I'd done it, and I'd worked through it and grinded through it, because it was all part of the challenge of growing the gym, which no one thought was going to be possible, because it's in the gym industry is really, really historically hard to maintain and grow, as you see with all these niche gyms popping up and closing. So yes, I think, what I realised, it was a challenge, and I realised where my passion lied, which was that. So that's then where I just sat back and decided, well, I sat for a while, I just thought about it on my own. I didn't talk to anyone about it actually, about where I wanted to go with that and what interested me, and it kept going full circle. And I was like, I love hardship, I love the idea of pushing myself and finding a limit somewhere, and I love the idea of doing some of the things that I had forgotten about in my past, which was being outdoors, climbing, mountaineering, physical challenges. So that's where it also went full circle, and I've now been in a process of understanding that. But I ended up, I spoke to a few people about it that I could sort of trust, because unfortunately the model of our gym we have, there can be lots of gossip and things. I didn't want people finding out and thinking that I wasn't still passionate about making Shy Fit what it is, and you've probably seen the things I've done in place. Hopefully that shows I am. But so then I spoke to Max, who was the owner of West Yorkshire. I sort of naturally thought he is the best person to direct the business forward and move the business forward, because he had the right mindset for it. He's really passionate. He's better. He has a better leadership style than me in that business situation, or scenario. and he showed me basically he's willing to work really hard and do a great job of it, which is why then I wanted to, number one, give him the opportunity, and number one, give me the chance to step back. So it's a bit of a give and shove, because a big step for him to take it on, big one for me to step back. So yeah, and then obviously then we went through the process of handing the gyms over and going through that, and we're just, we're going through that in a minute, and we're just finalising, which is really exciting. So yeah.
Okay. You decided, that you're going to look for something outside of CrossFit, and but then that was the start of lockdown, and then you decided that maybe you talked about liking hardship. You decided you'd do something during lockdown to keep yourself entertained.
Yes, I was feeling a little bit unmotivated with training. I think I sort of got used to the group environment of training, so it makes it really fun. Yeah, feeling motivated with it, wanted something to work towards, had a bit of time to work towards it with the lockdown. Found myself, I was at the gym all the time. There was only one bit of kit that we had left at the gym, which was a Ski Erg. So I was like, well, let's have a look at something there. I wanted to do something for charity, because I'd literally just volunteered to sort of help the Saints Foundation. So basically get some of their kids down to the gyms and get them involved doing some bits. And obviously that all stopped because of lockdown, and then from speaking to them, they were very in a situation we don't actually know whether we would just continue this or not because of lockdown. We think we might have to stop. So it was a bit of a I was like, oh wow, I didn't realise it was going to impact, because although it hit us really, really hard, I'd planned everything to a T to make sure the gyms could continue ready when we reopened. Even if it happened for another year, I was like, we will continue, we'll be fine. So then I thought, well, we'll do something for them. And I thought, I didn't even think about going for a world record on that. I thought, what do I do well at? I'm not that physically gifted at the shorter stuff, like the setting records there. So yeah, I thought, oh, why don't I try and do 24 hours on it? Then I thought, well, we're going to do it for charity, I'll have a look what the world record is. So I looked what the world record was, did a bit of research into it, so found out about what it is, how they've done it, those things, and thought, oh, we'll just go for it. Yeah, so then we announced it, and then I think I had 4 or 5 weeks in the lead up to it.
So for those people that don't know what a Ski Erg is, so a Ski Erg is a pulley system, and basically is I suppose you could resemble it to an upright rower that replicates, or is meant to replicate, the motion of Nordic skiing.
Yes, literally that.
Okay.
With noises.
So it's indoor Nordic skiing.
Yeah.
And Nordic skiing is deemed as how tough as far as sports is concerned?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, in terms of VO2 max, it's supposed to be one of the highest, if not the highest, VO2 max needs. Okay. Extremely tough. Obviously, you have the other body side to that. You miss the lower body with the Ski Erg, but yeah.
And as far as CrossFit's concerned, you put the Ski Erg into a WOD.
Yeah, intense workout. Yeah, short.
To punish people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, people don't enjoy the Ski Erg.
No, no. So actually, the Ski Erg is feared, isn't it?
Yeah, with that and the assault bike.
Yeah, the assault bike and the Ski Erg are the two things that people think, actually, this is really going to hurt. And how long would you put somebody in an endurance WOD? How long do you think you would ask a client to go on to a Ski Erg for?
Maximum for just a pure endurance one, maybe 40 minutes would be the max. Yeah.
40 minutes. And what sort of state would you expect somebody to be in? I mean, obviously, I know what sort of state. I've done.
Well, it depends how hard they go, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You could go really easy and you'd be sweaty still because you'd be tired. But then you've got the if you're pushing on a 40-minute one, you're pushing for a fast 10k time or something.
Yeah.
You'll be in the locker, in the lead up to doing the Ski Erg. I was doing those 10k blocks, and they're very, very hard.
Okay, so you're talking about 10k blocks. How many meters did you actually do in that 24 hours? 280, I'm trying to remember, I think it's 283,000 or something, 283,
Quite a few 10k blocks.
A few 10k blocks. So you've taken on a challenge that actually is not going to be enjoyable. To be honest with you, it's got to be pretty brain numbing to be at a Ski Erg for 24 hours, that repetitive movement with no stimulus. You've done it in lockdown, so although there was some support, there wasn't a huge amount of support. And you're giving yourself a 5-week run-in.
Yeah, I'd been doing little bits before that, endurance-wise. So I often find with some of these bits, there's that physical side of preparation. Then there's a mental tune-up. So it's we're now prepping the mind ready to like just deal with this.
Yeah.
So there's those two elements. I've been doing the mind one already with a little bits of ski because it was the only piece of kit I had.
Yeah.
And then I really nailed down on what I was training for in the 5 weeks in the lead up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that mindset
Yes.
that's so important in this challenge.
Yeah.
And do you think I could fail at this?
Yeah. Oh my. That's why I did it. Yeah. That's why I did it. I was like, I did 24 hours on the assault bike before, and it wasn't alright. It was not too bad, but I knew that if I had, you know, to do something like this, where you're actually chasing a distance, I'd seen the distance set already, and I was like, you know, that's a very challenging distance to marker. I didn't have anything to work off it because I'd never done anything like that before. But yeah, I announced it not with nerves, but like knowing that. When I got there in the morning and started, I wasn't going to start and thinking I got this in the bag. I started thinking this is gonna be tough. I probably could fail it.
Yeah. So you constant. That's where you get your sort of like motivation. Is actually this. I'm not messing about here. This could actually not end the way it should end. This could end in failure, and you're chasing something that's such a challenge that actually you could take you to your limit.
Yes.
And what is your limit?
Don't know. That's the exciting bit, isn't it? I don't think the limit was the ski erg. And whenever I do any of these challenges, I know we haven't spoken about the previous ones, but yeah, whenever I do these different physical challenges, I always finish it, go home, have some food, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and I'm like, that weren't good enough. I think, not that weren't good enough. I find ways to basically like justify why it wasn't that achieved, why it wasn't that good.
Right.
Because I'll be like, yeah, but I probably know that guy. I reckon he could beat it, or something like that. Or I go, you know, this, yeah. Some bits I would think about. So yeah.
So we're looking for Jack's limit.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
So that brings us on to I mean, there's another world record in the offing now.
Yeah.
Which is the strict pull-up.
Yeah.
Which is how many in 24 hours?
I think it's about 5,500 in 24 hours. Yeah.
Okay. And for anyone who's tried a set of 20 pull-ups, they'll know that's a significant challenge.
Yes.
I don't feel that's actually going to be enough. I'm not sure whether or not you'll be able to do it. If I'm honest, I think you
I don't think I'll do it.
Because you. So is that your limit? Is that?
No, because I think the difference with this challenge, I've chosen this one because, and we haven't picked a date yet. It's going to be soon. The reason I've chosen this one because everything is against me.
Yeah.
Body weight. I sit 100 kilos pretty much. Yeah. So I've got really long arms. You know, I defy the Da Vinci scale, whatever, you know, the wingspan. I defy it by like a good 4 inches. But I am straight out of Rushden, if anyone knows Rushden. But yeah, so I'm against all odds with this one, and it's not in my wheelhouse. Your wheelhouse of what you're good at. So that's why I chose it, and I thought, you know, let's just see. I was actually intrigued to see if I could do it, and I you know, yeah. So that's why I'm doing it. Yeah, the challenge is going to be really tough. There's a high possibility of failure, very high. I would say 90% possibility of not doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, genuinely, I'm not fluffing that up either. Yeah.
Okay. So and you know, but we're great for trying. But you're going to give it everything that you've got. Yeah,
of course. So the difference with this one is with the ski erg, I can keep skiing.
Yeah.
With a run, I can keep running. Or I know you can't, but I can keep moving. I'd walk, I'd crawl.
Yeah.
With this one, there's a point where you can't do any more chin-ups,
and
there's a point where you're going to get some kind of muscular injury. So that's the challenge with this one. And I know from seeing now, I've done a little bit of research into it and seen others doing it. There is a, you know, the person that currently holds the record, he'd attempted it twice before,
right?
And it failed. And had to stop at like 8 hours and 12 hours before.
Right.
So
okay.
Yes, I think there is that element to it. Yeah.
Well, what if you fail?
I don't know. Is the honest answer? Yeah.
Do you think that would be your nemesis? Do you think you'd return? You'd be like that guy and say, actually, no, I'm going to come back.
Yeah, maybe. I think, I probably would be. It depends on what's coming up on my calendar. I probably would want to give it another crack at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually, often when I've done a challenge, I'm like, yeah, done, skip it, move on. Like, even if someone beat previous records I've set or done, it, I'll be pretty content with that and think, well, yeah, well done. You've beaten it.
Right.
I wouldn't think, oh, I've got to go back and do it again to beat it or something. purely because actually I don't recognise those records often as very good, so I don't feel the need to then go and do them again. Yeah, if I failed it, I'd probably be very motivated to then try it again. Depend on the circumstances, yeah.
So,
but not the detriment of other stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So what is on the horizon? What is it? Where is Jack going?
Yeah. So it's a difficult period to actually say things because it's all planning at the minute. I know I've had loads of messages and people asking, where am I going with all this? So basically, what I want to try and achieve is to tell a story, highlight hardship, challenges, include a charitable element into these challenges that I do, and then try and find my limit / fulfillment for me. So there's a bit of an all round there. So to get rid of that wishy-washy stuff that people often do, the idea is I want to go trek across the Amazon. I want to go and climb Mount Everest. I'd like to climb K2. I want to climb more the 8,000 meter or the 8,000 meter mountains. I want to trek to the South Pole, maybe do the landmass crossing. I want to do loads of different exploration adventures that traditionally you have specialists that would just do that one area. I want to see, is it possible for me to learn, to adapt and go and do that, come back, move on, do something and do another challenge. So yeah.
So you talked about the 8,000 peaks.
Yep.
Across the world.
Yeah.
How many 8,000 peaks have you climbed?
None.
How many 6,000 peaks?
None.
So really, you are a complete novice.
This is it. This is the exciting part of it, and I think it's the exciting part of telling the story of it. I'm currently reading a book on mountaineering skills in winter, as an example. Yeah, I'm reading stuff, and now I'm going to apply it. Like, people have been following my journey so far on social, and I've only just started doing it, but they're seeing me going out and stuff. We'll be doing some kayaking. I'm going climbing a mountain in bad weather. I am literally reading, close, put down, go and apply it. And that's it. And I'm literally learning on the job. Yeah.
Fantastic. So when people see, I know I've seen a couple of Instagram posts where you're kayaking down the river Nen.
Yes. Yeah.
Nen, call it what you like.
Yeah.
What's the end goal there?
None. Just experience, just fun. Like, a lot of that stuff as well is good for me, just to get off.
So at no point you've never thought, I think I could probably paddle down the Nile.
That's one of the things I want to do. Yeah.
So actually, all of these small things that people see,
build up,
all running in.
I realise this, right? So everyone that watches this, all your experiences define who you are and what you think is possible and what you can do moving forward. Same with that. So I've always tried to give myself experiences that I think will help me move forward. So as an example, and every time, just over the last few months, every time I've gone and done something that most people think, that is weird. Why in December are you going to go into the lakes and go trekking when it's freezing cold? You're not going to have very good, you're going to be cold and uncomfortable. But every time I've gone away and done that, I've walked away with something, even if it's really small. I've walked away with something about preparation, about gear, about something I might need, or something I did wrong that I could do better, navigation errors, weather errors, something like that. And the same with doing kayaking, just doing that, dealing with a different kind of muscular hardship, that translates to chin up, so one of the reasons it's good to do it. Different scenarios will help me prepare for these situations that I have potentially, hopefully, coming up.
So what about people who would say, this guy's actually probably a little bit tapped. These are the guys that actually end up dead.
Yes, we've discussed this before, haven't we? But I will feel dead inside if I'm not chasing something, so I might as well chase it. There is that element of danger. I personally think I do. I know there's, at the end of the day, there's situations I might end up being in that, yes, are extremely high risk, and yes, there's a risk that I might die because there's things that you're out of control with weather, nature, situations. But I will control every single facet that I can in order to stay safe, because I have other motivations outside of that, whether it be being there for family, for my partner, all those different things. But if I'm not chasing something like that, for me, I will not be me. I will be unhappy, if that makes sense. So then I would rather go be fulfilled, do these crazy things that people would think, why are you doing that, what's the reason. And I'd rather do that and die at a younger age than do none of this, be unhappy for the rest of my life and die at 80. So there's that balance to it, but it doesn't mean that I'm crazy, I'm just asking for a death wish, because I'm definitely not. I enjoy living, and I want to be there to support my little brother as he grows up and does amazing things. I want to be there for my mum and all those different things. So yeah, I think there's a nice balance to it.
And I suppose the other thing that you're saying to people is, actually, come with me, watch this dream unfold, and apply that to life.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go, well, this is my lot.
Yes.
And
I see that a lot. Yeah.
They may not be happy with it. They don't know how to break out of it and that monotony of life. And what you're saying is, actually, guys, let's try and buck the trend here. I don't think you're saying you're special, but you're saying you can be done.
Yes, I am not special. I have no special physical abilities. In fact, I probably don't think I have very good physical abilities for some of the stuff I've done in the past. I think a lot of it is I've built mindset and around that to enable to do it. Yeah, I think the whole idea with this is I can take people on the journey with me because of modern technology anyway, with camera systems and how quickly I can send and tell everyone the story of what's happening, and hopefully motivate people to realise that I am raw in this game, as in like, it might be your situation, it might be someone watching, they might be thinking, well, I'd love to do this as a career, but I've got no experience in it. Well, I'm going to be doing some of the most dangerous stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to be doing some of the most dangerous stuff in the world and have no experience of it. I'm going to be going gung-ho and go for it and try and do it with the commitment. And yeah, I think hopefully people might be able to put their own story into what I'm doing and see the vulnerability side of things and be actually willing to go, you know what, I think I can do this. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that adventure, and I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy watching you on this adventure. Whether or not that's watching you because they're thinking he's going to fail.
Yeah.
Whether that's watching you because they're inspired by you, or whether that's watching you because they want to see you succeed and they want to see the things that you can do. But my understanding is that you're also going to be offering people to actually physically travel that journey with you.
Yeah, I think eventually. So to begin with, there's going to be lots of we're planning some big challenges that are going to be solo. They're going to be they're going to be high risk, very tough, physically demanding. But then there's going to be other facets to what I'm going to be doing that is going to give other people the opportunity to join in with me and go and complete different challenges, and with the support, because often the biggest step is that you need someone to hold your hand sometimes to help take our steps. So whether it be really small, whether it be joining someone going kayaking down the Nen, or whether it be trekking with someone in a lake district where normally they wouldn't do that, and into that kind of uncomfortable zone, the idea is they can come and hopefully take something away from that. But that's probably going to be over the next maybe years from now that we're going to look at implementing those things. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for talking to me, Jack. It's been great to hear about everything in the past, and look forward to those crazy stories from the future. I know you said about you wanted those stories from Herrick, and you felt that you didn't get those stories, but I have no doubt that your life is going to have many stories.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you're going to be part of some of them as well. So,
cut.
thanks, mate. Cheers.
How's that?